strong, fast.
I guess I see like you now.
How many fingers am I holding up? And fearless.
Alrighty. Once this
And fearless.
stops here. Alright, there we go. Hello. So I'm going to start playing through Diablo 3 and just analyzing it, sort of from a design perspective. A little about me. Till about a week ago, I was design director at Microsoft. Left, started my own company. Yay! Hence the robe. I get to work from home, and it's also Diablo appropriate, but you know. So, any case, I'm getting to wear a robe. It's going to be great until more people join me, and then I guess I have to put on, business attire, which is sad. But for now, let's just talk about Diablo 3. So, what we'll start out doing here is, I haven't played a lot of Diablo 3. It's not, I played up to like a level 51 Demon Hunter. I'm actually going to create a new character that I haven't played before, like a Witch Doctor. Haven't played a Witch Doctor, you get a fresh perspective of what that is, to me, or like what, I'll just be able to go through and sort of talk about it. So, just to start out with, like, if we're thinking about the design of Diablo 3, Blizzard's like top tier, like, designer. They're great at what they do. They're really good at making things accessible. They're really good at making things, super polished. And when I look at just even their UI, their interface, there's some things that, like, a lot of not designers are going to think about. If you've been in the industry for a while, you will, and some of this will seem pretty obvious. But, when you're designing a UI, it's not like there's necessarily a book on exactly how your UI should be made. So when I look at this, like, it's super solid. You have this, list of heroes, or, right here, that you can select from. And right below it, they have create, if you want to create a new one. Like, this is really good organization of information. They also have cancel if I want to go back a screen. Now, one thing to notice, too, like, the buttons aren't the same size, right? That's really important, and it's a lot of junior designers will make that mistake, where they'll make all the buttons the same size, And they're not the same size because they're guiding you towards specific things. There's things you're going to want to do. There's things you're going to want to do less. Like, I'm not going to want to delete my character very often, so that button's, smaller. It's not as important to most players. And you have, like, the restore hero button right next to it. Again, good organization of information. My hero's in the center. Select hero right below him. Great organization. Surprising in a way, they don't let you click on the hero. My gut, though, is that people tried to click and rotate, and in UR is user research. So I bet you people were trying to click and rotate the hero like you can in, like, World of Warcraft, right? And they didn't want you doing that, or didn't want you accidentally selecting the hero, so they made it a button below. So let's just hit create, and I'm going to pick Witch Doctor here. Very cool. They let you choose either male or female. That's great. We got hardcore mode right below. Really good UI design again. So I'm just going to enter. My hero name will be the dog toy, because why not? And create hero. And we'll start going. So what they just did there, you notice, like, the Witch Doctor was all, set up in really cool get up. They had a really cool, like, outfit, right? Like, that's like high-end or pretty high-end weaponry and equipment. The reason they did that, that's a common thing you'll see in a lot of games, where you sort of tell the player what they can become, right? Anytime you get into, like, a sport or a game or anything, it's always good to show, hey, this is what you're striving toward. I want to do that. I want to be that. If I started out with this guy, I might not be as excited, to be him. Maybe, but he's not quite as cool as that high-level version of himself. So, I'm like, okay, I want to get there. Aeon, an MMO, started you out able to fly and sort of took away your powers. There's a lot of games that do that, and it's just, it's very subtle the way they did it. It's just a UI thing, but it was still there, and it's something to call out and note. So let's start playing the game and get into the real interesting stuff. So loading. You know, tips, common thing. Loading screen. So, they start you out with a video.
I wander to places beyond
I've never been a huge fan of starting with a big video. I get it.
From the jungles
It's just I always wanted to get in play. Totally fine thing to do, though. A lot of games do it. Depends what you're going for.
knowledge has grown vast.
You know, super high production quality here.
People, they think me banished, shunned to the end of my days.
It's interesting that Blizzard went away from those super high-end cinematics.
But I say,
You know, it was something they were known for.
I follow them.
I mean, these are beautiful. They're more
Spirits
artistic.
show me alone that the sky fire is
More of a
where the
choice.
end begins.
You know, but it's a bit surprising they went away from the high-end cinematics. Just in
I
that,
live to serve the spirits.
you know, it was something they were really known for. And for me, originally, those high-end cinematics were like such a
There is
reward.
none but
I'd
me
play through the game just to see it
to
again, you
answer
know.
the call.
So I am a little surprised they went with such a simple thing, simple style. It's almost something an indie would do, but it is cool. I mean, it's super artistic, high quality. It was a choice. So
The air is heavy with death. The fallen star is near.
that's a little note. Like, you noticed how they put the little thing above his head, the little icon to designate he's the one talking. You know, they probably, I mean, in a 2D game like this, you're gonna have issues with sound, 3D sound, right? It's gonna be really hard for you to understand, hey, did the sound come from here or here or here? You know, there's no real spatial sound. So that's why I think they're doing that. It's really interesting, nice little touch. You know, movement, as you guys all know in Diablo, isn't WASD or anything like that. It is clicking. So, you know, when you think about controls, they really define your game a lot more than like a lot of people think about. I'm gonna use Street Fighter as an example, even though we're playing Diablo, because you know, way back when I built a fighting game, because you know they were a game I didn't understand, and I wanted to understand them better. And I thought, well, the best way for me to understand fighting games better is build them. At the time, you know, I was very much like, why are the controls in fighting games so complicated? Why can't we just simplify this down? I'm not very good at that kind of input, just personally. So maybe we can get rid of that. And what came to learn over time is the controls and input were super important. If you think about a character like Blanca, right? He has to hold back for 2 seconds before he can do his ball. And that's super important. Like, the fact that he has to hold back means that if he takes a step forward, if this is Blanca and he took a step forward like that, you know he can't ball for 2 seconds. Like, he's reduced in the number of options he can do. If you jump over him, right, he also can't ball because now back is toward you. So you just took away his option. So he's super weak to cross-ups, right? Or if you take like a character like Ryu, who can like go down to toward, right, to do his fireball, like doesn't have that restriction. So that totally changes the way the character plays. And just like that, in Diablo, you know, the fact that I have to click to both sides to move him, there's time for me to get my mouse to one side to the other, right? I could be faster or slower depending on how fast of a reflexes I have, but it's still worth noting. The game would play a lot different than it would with WASD, and if anyone's played it on a console, you know that's something they know. It plays very different when you have a gamepad. Which I like when you hover over this to tell you hold shift attack to attack without moving. That's a great place to put that tutorial. In that, like, I call it stage tutorials. They don't tell you everything right at the beginning of the game, like do this and this and this. A lot of indie games make that mistake, and part of it is because stage tutorials are more expensive. They take more time to implement and get right and put in the right spot. But the fact that they did that, right, so that stage tutorial means I'm not overwhelmed with information. I get the information as I need it, as I want it. So that was a nice little touch. So there's a monster, and something I just noticed, I killed him in one hit. And I want everyone to pay attention to that, the number of hits, because we're going to get into talking about items a lot and balance, and how a lot of item upgrades are actually sort of meaningless until you hit until you hit a certain threshold, and that's really defined by, if I'm shooting at a certain monster, and it's varied a little bit because monsters have different hit points, but how many hits does it take to kill the monster? If it takes one hit to kill a monster and you upgrade your item and it's still, or let's say 3 hits. Let's say it takes 3 hits to kill a monster and you upgrade your item. Well, unless it now takes 2 hits to kill a monster, it doesn't matter, right? Like, that upgrade didn't mean anything. It's still taking me 3 hits. So it's something to notice, and we're going to talk a lot about. We're also going to talk a little bit about the AI. You notice that guy didn't attack me, right? I would call that, he was like, I have a feeling, and I haven't played Diablo in a while, so I'm not sure. I bet you there's always a monster there that doesn't attack you. It just gives you, the AI is probably set to not attack. Maybe, let's see if these guys will, didn't mean to do that. I attacked him, the other guy stood up, right? So he knew that I shot his friend. So they had to code that. There's some AI there. Now he's not super aggressive. Is he going to attack me? No. Maybe? Okay. Oh, he will eventually. So again, they have a wander. He obviously, isn't finding me right away. This guy's very much there to, he's not meant to kill me. He'll never really, I bet you I could stand here and let him beat on me. Maybe he'll kill me eventually. He attacks and wanders. So basically, think about what they're doing here in the AI. They have attack, and then after attack, he goes into a wander state. That's something to notice. Like, when you're playing these games, see under the, you could see under the hood a little bit, that, and see how they made this AI work. I love that, as I move my mouse over, I get the little, health bar in the top there. It was, I have a feeling they moved it off the monster itself to the top. Probably it was getting in the way. I could see if 2 monsters were standing next to each other, the health bars would start overlapping each other. Also, it's sort of intrusive on the screen, right? When health bars in Diablo probably don't actually matter that much. So let's see. Now we're in these new guys. So he's a little more aggressive. He knows I'm there before I shoot one of his friends. He's still in that real weird wander state, but we're just gonna take these guys out real quick and keep moving. Cool little, that crow flew when I got close. There's probably a trigger here, if you think about the level design. It's really cool. Basically, when I step in this area, it sends out an event. Here's, so these guys are actually killing each other. That's interesting. I come up. They tell you now, so notice again, stage tutorials. As I get here, right, it tells you, okay, so they could have done that stage tutorial a touch better. They could have I know why they did it. So I was going to say they could pop up after this little exclamation point appeared on his head. They did it before, and I have a feeling they did it before because they had, again, user research. I bet you imagine this. As a player, I kill everything here, right? And then I accidentally click him. At the same time, this tutorial pops up, and that tutorial goes away. Then, I've sort of missed what it's for. I'm guessing that's why they did it before. Without playing through a couple more times, I wouldn't know. So even this icon is something to really note and talk about. Okay, so when you think about this icon over his head to tell you he's a quest giver, there's a lot that implies. There's a lot of emotion that's gonna make the player feel and take away. There's a lot of accessibility you gain by having it, but it really does create a certain kind of it's a big choice. But players are sort of because Blizzard is so popular, and Blizzard did this in Warcraft, which is so popular. It's sort of become a standard, right? People expect this, and anytime you break a standard, that's you're taking a big risk. We have keyboards, right? So one thing, the keyboard is a perfect example of that. So a keyboard, QWERTY keyboard, is designed to be inefficient. Typewriters would have this issue where you typed and the little arms would come up and they would jam. So the keyboard's actually designed so letters that you would hit closely together, Like H and A are two letters that you would hit, you know, boom, 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 are far apart. Like that you can't do that as quickly. And that was actually designed to reduce jams. So the keyboard's designed to be inefficient. We all know the keyboard, so it's very hard to move away from that now that people know it. Guild Wars really wanted to get away. Like Guild Wars 2, I believe. They had a great talk about wanting to get away from these quests. This like thing over someone's head. They wanted to make it more dynamic, where you'd like, you know, you'd be running by, and you know, somebody would run up and be like, "Help! My house is on fire!" And you could sort of help them or not, and it was very dynamic. There was no like, I wasn't like on a quest. It was more like this event that sort of happened more organically. And in user research, they had players say, you know, this happened, and the player just kept running, and they said, "Why did you keep running?" And the player was like, well, I wasn't on I didn't have a quest for it, right? And that's sad, but it is what it is. So, you know, this has trained a lot of people. So if you want to move away from this, you can. You know, you can just know that you have an accessibility hit. That's you know, you're moving away from a convention. And if this is your audience, if your audience is the same, you know, our people that play Blizzard games know that they have some learning to do, and it's something you have to teach them. So anytime you move away from a convention, you sort of have to think about that. Okay, I'm moving away from this convention, have a reason to move away from that convention, but then understand how moving away from that convention is going to affect everything in the game and how all the fallout you're going to have, because there's a lot more than you might think, you know. So let's take this quest and
The spirits tell me,
talk to
go,
him.
seek the cradle of the fallen star. And so, I am here.
So, another thing that Blizzard did here, the Witch Doctor is the Witch Doctor. You know, I didn't have dialogue options, I didn't have choice, right? The Witch Doctor is making the choices at that level. So it told me, first quest, you know, another stage tutorial. So these guys are all, do I have guys that die in 2 hits yet? I think those other guys die in 2 hits. It's something I'm watching, because that, you know, we're going to talk about items a lot. Balance.
I've never seen anyone fight like that before.
Cool, they already leveled me up.
You'll find Leah at the Slaughtered Calf Inn.
So, they're like, okay, he's learned how to do basic combat. Let's give him something else. So, I got this new thing, some his ghoulish hands and ground. Let's do that. Cool. So they just gave that to me. That's very cool. So let's level up. Let's level up. Okay, so I got this. Cool. These are your secondary skills. Left click the skill and then click accept. Select a secondary skill. Right, but I already got it. They're just letting me know. Okay, I guess I don't really have a choice. It's fine. They're more introducing me to the system. Not really giving me a choice yet. All this stuff's locked. This is keeping it simple for me. Another really great interface, right? This stuff's all grayed out. They also stopped top to bottom, right? They didn't just like randomly like say, hey, this and this is going to be unlocked, right? They started the top 2, and that's just, you know, people, at least in the US, read, you know, top to bottom, left to right. In other countries, that might not be true. Something to think about. If you're designing a UI for some other country that reads like, you know, right to left, you know, you have to think a little differently. You have to get yourself in that mindset. And, you know, localization's expensive. Most people don't go that far with it, but you could. It's just something to think about, something to know, right? That, you know, where people's eyes naturally go tends to be what they've learned. So, you know, so that leveled. I don't think anything else changed that I care about yet. I think maybe some passive stats went up. I can't remember if they removed those. You know, I got these buttons. I'm just clicking around. It's been a while. But, oh, you know, I have strength, dexterity, intelligence, vitality. I don't know if those go up anymore. But maybe, like when you level, they probably do. But, you know, you don't get to slot points in them anymore. That always makes me sad. I like putting points places, even if it probably doesn't matter. And that's, you know, we could really start talking about, you know, just balance too, and I'll get into that, but I'm going to get a little farther into the game first. Balance is interesting in this kind of game. It's almost entirely DPS based, and you'll see what I mean by that. Every stat boils down to that. So, cool. know who he's talking. Again, that little thing over his head. Do I know I can talk to him? So the icon. So when I move my mouse over them, it sort of tells me what I can do with them.
Study the fall of old TRISTRAM.
All right.
By the grace of the ancients, may your soul be warmed and brought to
Cool.
glory
He
in
healed me. I got a merchant there. On my little mini map, they put a little. You know, I get this like, hey, I think that's where I want to go. They don't have to tell me that. They do say talk to Leah in Slaughtered Calf Inn. You know, I have like my little objective log. They didn't make this something I had to open. That was a really interesting choice. You know, them doing that, just again, it increases accessibility. I don't have to even understand what a quest log is. You know, it's just there. And if I don't ever see my quest log, it's fine. Like, that's a choice. Ooh, the stash is here. I walk over to that. Cool, I have stuff. I forgot I had all this stuff. That's cool. Any case, so having a mini map up all the time is a big choice. You know, you have the tab where you can bring it up like, you know, full screen. But having a mini map up all the time like that in the corner tells you a lot. And what you put, you know, what you put on that mini map is a big choice. There's no monsters on this mini map. You know, that's good. I think it'd be overwhelming. It's more of like a high level, where have I been, where have I gone? And I constantly find myself looking at that, right? Whenever I'm playing the game and I'm in a dungeon, you know, I'm usually looking at that unless there's monsters around. So when we get into dungeons, we can talk about, like, there's some big advantages and disadvantages there. Like, the fact that I'm looking at a mini-map, you know, it makes it, again, I don't have to remember the space as much. It really helps in a game that has some randomness like Diablo. You know, where have I been down this corridor before? It can become really cumbersome if you had to constantly open and close a map. That said, if I'm looking at the mini-map, I'm not looking at their art. I'm not looking at their environment, right? Like, look at all this time they spent in this environment. It's amazing. Like, to have all this detail. Think about how much time that took somebody. And when you're looking at the mini-map, you're not looking at that. And that's sad. So as a designer, it's something to realize, you know, but, you know, there's a balance there. You don't want people, if it's cumbersome, you know, people might just not want to play your game anymore. It might be boring. And if in a game like this, it's not about exploration, really. It sort of is, but when we talk about balance, we talk about how really you just ignore, like, if you're getting into the power game, if you're getting into, like, becoming powerful in Diablo, which Diablo is a power game. It's sort of the core motivation. It's the core emotion that Blizzard decided to instill in players is power. You are becoming more powerful, which is sort of ironic, being that you're trying to kill like this Lord of Terror who's all about becoming more powerful. But your whole goal is becoming more powerful, right? And as you get into the game, you realize, well, all the most powerful items are at the end of the game. So the only reason I'd ever equip an item or get an item or care about an item is if it, when I talked about like how many hits it takes to kill a monster, is if equipping that item, the time it takes to equip that item, will make it so I kill things faster. If it doesn't, it's not worth equipping anything yet. Even if it makes my stats go up, it's irrelevant, right? Like, maybe survivability and things like that, but the point being that, like, that survivability isn't even going to matter much. It's all about speed, it's all about power, blah, if you're power gaming. You know, if you're somebody that just wants to enjoy the experience and explore, you know, that's sort of, I sort of fit into that camp, because, you know, once you understand the systems, power gaming is a joke, right? It's just a treadmill, right? Like, I don't care about becoming more powerful. I understand how the systems work. So, we'll get into that. You know, it's fun to I like numbers going up. I love numbers going up, but it's not my core motivation. My core motivation is more about exploration and just sort of like seeing the cool things that, you know, people put in the world. So, you know, it depends what your motivation is, but it's something to note. That this, you know, is very much a ease of access thing, but it is also going to take, a lot of times people are going to focus their attention there, and they're not going to look at the world. You know, so let's go in here. Slaughtered Calf Inn. So I still have a little mini-map about this area. You know, that might be a little overkill. I don't know if I need a mini-map in here. Maybe in some bigger spaces. I get why they didn't take it away. It's like consistency. Consistency is good, right? I might be confused if that went away. Cool. I see people. There's nothing I can do here, right? I can talk to these people. And we already know this is important.
The captain says you survived.
She has an exclamation point.
I did, but it blasted my uncle Deckard Cain into the depths of the old cathedral.
I tried to search for him, but the dead were already rising. I came back here to rally the militia, but... Watch out! The wounded are turning!
Interesting. There's a bug. I didn't click anything, and she stopped talking. Oh, I can use this now. Oh, it does damage, too. Yay, that was fun.
This is killing business.
So she stopped talking without me clicking, like her dialogue was cut short. Little bug. And, you know, so one thing to note is even Blizzard, they're amazing. They have some bugs because game development's hard. It just is. So, you know, you gotta give the developer some props. You know, they're not gonna be able to fix every bug, and, you know, that one didn't matter much.
The dead will overwhelm us all, unless something is done.
There is a deep sickness here, but it can be healed.
Thank you. You should speak with Captain Rumford at the gate. He can tell you what to do.
Cool. So I can go down here now. Interestingly, so here's something. Talk to Captain Rumford. I remember I talked to Captain Rumford earlier. So I don't. Interesting. Gate to New at the gate to New Tristram. So they do sort of tell you that, and this is nice. They make me think a little bit, right? They're not like, go this way. Maybe I want to go into Leah's room, right? You know, and just sort of walk around that, and she doesn't seem to care. They just, you know, walked into her house. Oh, wow, there's a book there. I wonder what that is. Leah's book.
We've been under siege for 6 days now. Uncle Deckard is still missing.
Cool little way to get
Captain
story,
Rumford and the others are losing hope.
Some
I
things
tell
you
them
find.
not to lose faith.
I like
Help
that they
doesn't
give you
arrive
the
soon.
backstory like that. That's very cool. It's opt-in. It's not something I have to sit through, especially if you're playing a multiplayer game. You always have to think about that with story. If I've played through this 10 times and I'm playing with a friend, you know, there's a disconnect there. My friend might want to hear all the little story pieces, and I might have already heard them. So stopping my gameplay, which a lot of designers that are new to multiplayer will do, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna design it like a single player game," but it doesn't work because of that. Like, you know, you're playing with people that might have played through before. I might not have. I might want the story, but now we have this problem where we either can't play together or we have to make compromises. But what they just did there, where like they pick up the item, you know, it's in some single player games like BioShock Infinite and stuff, but what it let me do is get story while I keep playing. One of my favorite games ever is Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, right? I love that game. And one of the later Prince of Persia's messed this up, and they made you walk up to people and press a button to get story, which just made me crazy. Where Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, you know, you got the story. The princess was talking to you while you solved the puzzles. That was great, because it was like, cool, I get to listen to hear the story and talk, and I get to engage all the parts of my mind. You're not making me wait to hear, you know, something that, you know, if I wanted to watch a movie, I'd watch a movie, right? If I want, you know, let me play the game and like give me cool story while I play, and that's what they did there. That's a great choice, and especially in multiplayer when, you know, people may have different story requirements based on how much they played this game. So great choice by Blizzard there. So I talked to Leah. They're sort of giving me this right now, like, you know, the beginning of Diablo here, there's no randomness, right? Which is fine. You know, it's sort of a tutorial thing. You know, you can get through it in a few minutes.
Captain Dalton and the militia were slaughtered by those things. Only I survived.
Their sacrifice saved their people. I will honor it.
Well, I have seen you fight. Strike at the wretched mothers and their queen. They're the ones vomiting out these horrors.
So cool. I got a new thing. Kill the wretched mother. Alright, so now the barricade goes down, I can go into the world. And that was their sort of way of teaching me what a quest was, teaching me what objectives are. I have my first quest.
That's one of the wretched mothers. There are more of them in the ruins down the road.
Got shoes, and now this is new lore.
I, Deckard Cain, have spent many years traveling and writing about the strange creatures in our world.
Another little story moment. This is blinking. They're not making me go there, but, you know, it's definitely drawing my eye. So, you know, I'm not going to click that yet. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Twisted by foul magic. Now they feast upon cadavers and regurgitate them as newly formed.
I feel really powerful.
Dead.
You know, I got my new skill. I just killed all those monsters with one click. You know, that's a really good choice. It's really fun to give me something like that to play with. I can kill these guys before they even notice I'm there. So Wretched Mother died in 2 hits, right? So she's not very hard. These guys are dying in 2 hits now. Everyone, Quill Fiend's dying 1. I want to note this because I want to show something here in a second about balance. So they die in 1, everyone dies in 1. There's probably going to be some randomness. Let's kill one of these things. Walking Corpse, 2. 2. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. New lore.
Dear reader, I am Abdalhazir,
Okay, learn about the Quill Fiend.
scholar, and researcher. I share my
So,
knowledge of this incredible world and its
this
creatures
regenerates life. I
through
want to
my
wait till I get an
insightful
item or
missives,
weapon
often at
before I
grave
really
risk
talk
to
about
myself.
that.
Why, I was recently
So,
in
I'm gonna
Honduras,
equip this.
where my tents were ransacked
It
by
doesn't
vicious
really matter,
quill
but it's
fiends.
open.
I was able to beat them off with a shoe,
so-
but a less bold man would have fared
I'm
far
going to get into this a
worse.
little bit. Armor. So, the way that Diablo works, right? The way RPG works. Diablo's an action RPG, so it adds a touch of player skill. But really, there's not... With ranged characters, a little more... you know, with melee, it's not fair. With melee characters, the skill too, and just the smart use of skills. So they add a little bit of skill. A pure RPG is purely DPS based, damage per second, and Diablo still has a lot of that, right? There's certain times, especially with melee, you can avoid damage. You're gonna get hit a little bit, you know. It just is, right? So that comes down to damage per second. So everything is based around damage per second in one of these games. Everything. Strength is damage per second. Dexterity is damage per second. Intelligence, everything. So if you think about like the different, like what is armor? Armor is health, which is damage per second. It lets you survive the damage, right? So if I was going to balance the game, you know, there's lots of ways to do this. I don't know exactly how Blizzard did it, but the way I think about it is you take all these stats, you know, damage, toughness, whatever. They all equate. They all have a value. We'll call it like a battle point value. So when I'm building items and stuff, they have battle point values. And you have a target for a character to level. At level 2, I want to have so many battle points worth of damage, of stats, right? You might even have targets like I want X amount, between X and X amount of damage. You know I can build my character a little bit differently, but you know, I want to, you know, you have these targets, and items are really just hitting these targets. So like this is a required level 1 item. So you'll see, like, in order to create peaks and valleys, which I'll get into later, that's a little much for right now. Let's talk about what balance is, or how it works, right? You know, they're all going to get applied some stats. 4 life per second is, you know, how much is a health worth? Well, that's, you can balance everything based off health or damage per second. It's sort of the same thing. So armor is really just health. And I know you're going, what do you mean armor is just health? Armor's health. It reduces the amount of damage you take. So it's health. Dodge is health. So like in design language, right, we talk about like an evasion tank. What is an evasion tank? It's a tank that's really good at dodging, but doesn't have a lot of armor. But it's the same thing, right? Like if a rogue is dodging, you know, 60% of attacks, and a warrior has enough armor to soak up 60% of the damage, it's almost the same thing. Like there's some, like, if you get really into the intricacy there, you know, like when you really get really into the game, well, this, you know, rogue's going to be better at fighting these guys because when they hit you, they stun you or whatever. And, you know, there's some intricacy there with how the stats all play together. But the point being that it all boils down to how much health I could have. As health increases, I can do more damage over time. Right? So, again, it goes back to health and damage, health and damage. So, armor is health. Always think of it that way, right? Always think of it that way. Dodge is health, right? That's it. And when you boil things down like that, what is strength? Well, strength is damage. It might do some other things too in the game, but, you know, it might have some utility function. You know, dexterity is health and damage, right? It's a split because it helps you hit more often. It also, you know, is going to let you dodge, evasion tank, health. So all these things, you know, they all tie back into health and damage. So when I equip these, I'm increasing my toughness, but I'm really increasing my health. Something to talk about. So right now at level 2, I don't even have a full inventory. And we're going to look at this. The number of slots really matters in a game. The more slots you have, right, the less you'll notice an item upgrade. That's really important, right? Like, I want to notice my item upgrades. And what I mean by that is, if you think about, let's pretend you have a target at level 2 that a character has 100 and between, you know, you want him to have like 180 health at level 2. I'm low right now. We'll pretend. Doesn't matter. Point being that that's your target. The average player will have 180 health. So that means they have to get the health, and remember, armor is health. They have to get the health from their items, right? And they have an average damage. We want a character to do, I don't know, 5 damage. An average level 2 character will do 5 damage. So we know that all their items will have to equal 180 health and 5 damage on average. You know, some characters may do more damage and have less health, more health, less damage. Some characters may have more of both because they're above average. They found better items. But that's our average. So that means we have to split that health and damage amongst your items, right? Because that's how you balance it. So the more items you have, the less each item will have impact, you know, on the character. When I was a kid, I was like, oh, I want like earrings and like 1 ring on each finger, and I want more items. I hate that I can only have 1 ring on each hand. That's lame. You know, I'm just a kid. I didn't get it. And that's fine. You know, I hadn't learned yet. And like what I think I realized as I got more into game design is that by having less items, what you're doing is when I put that ring on, I can see a change. And it goes back to how many hits does it take to kill a monster, right? Because if it takes 3 hits to kill a monster, and the monster takes 3 hits to kill me, right? Let's pretend it's the same. I know it's not, but we'll pretend, just it makes it easy. And I put a ring on, so I'm not trying to flick you guys off. I'm just holding them a bit. I just put a ring on. And it's still, a monster could still kill me in 3 hits, and it still takes me 3 hits to kill the monster. Maybe I have a utility or something, but in general, it didn't change anything, right? And the more items you have, the more common that situation will be. That an upgrade won't actually make a difference to the player's feel of the game, right? It'll just make numbers go up, which is fine. That's cool. I like numbers going up. But it's more, you know, you also want to think about when the numbers go up, how does it change my gameplay? So, you know, that's why having less items can be good. You know, if I only had 1 item, man, that item is going to be important. When I upgrade that item, it's going to feel like a big deal. But, you know, there's not going to be a lot of variation. It's just like, there's not a lot of choice there for the player. So, you know, it's a balance, something to think about. The more items you have, the more grognardy it gets, I would say. The more it's all about the stats and less about the feel, like maximizing those numbers and being a mathematician. You know, so that's something we're going to look at more and more. Remember, you have a target per level, right, of like what you want those stats to be, that's divided amongst base stats the character has by, you know, just being level 2, and their items, right? And their items might be 60% of target, 70% of target, 80% of target. The more the items... Okay, so that's another thing to note, right? As you talk about these targets, right? If the base stats are 80%, and of your target. So the base stats, if I had a 200 health target and the base stats gave me, you know, 160, and then the items could give me like 40 on average, then, you know, there's not a lot of player choice, really. The items you equip don't matter that much. It does make the game more accessible. It's harder to just make bad choices, right? The more the items matter, you know, if my base stats give me like 50 health and the items give me 150, now they matter a lot. Free-to-play games that use items for monetization will lean really heavily that way, because that's how they do their paywall, right? They go, oh, you got to this point, you're not going to be able to kill that monster unless you buy these items or get these items or find these items, which you probably have to spend money to do, you know. And Diablo leans that way too for different reasons. It just is what it is. Most of your stats come from items. If you don't have items on, you know, you kill things. They shoot out items. That's the game. It's fun. You know, it's a slot machine almost. Every time you click, it's great. It's fun. So because of that, you know, most of your stats are going to come from items, right? And that's something to note. In that balance, when you're thinking about the balance of a character, think how that split is and what it means to the player. So, all right, let's keep playing. Keep playing. So they have a road here. This is an interesting choice. So I know that the road is going to take me where I need to go next. Do I want to go off the beaten path? There's not a really good super reason to. Like from game systems perspective, like if I go off the path at this stage of the game, I may get some things that are better for me at this stage of the game that help me get through faster the next stage, maybe, right? Or I could just cut through the next stage of the game and wait until I get in the late game and then get better items, because I know all the best items you find late game. That's a weakness, I would say, in their item design and their dropping. You know, there's reasons they do that, but it's something to think about. How can you make early levels and item drops matter, right? Like, matter to you forever, not just, you know, between level 1 and 5. You know, it's just something to think about if you're making your own game sometime, and you know, you want to improve upon what Blizzard's done, which is always the goal. You know, I don't think they're going to be upset about it. They're going to be happy. They're like, that's why they built this, right? They want, I mean, well, they built this so you can enjoy it, but like, it's also, let's move the industry forward. Let's keep improving. Let's keep improving what people have done, and you know, and
with hopes of finding hidden treasure.
Keep making things better. Like, keep making that experience better, and that'd be great. Ooh, there's a damn cellar.
Unbelievably, as I was
I don't know what that is. Oh, there's a wretched mother.
I must tell them about the new Tristram before it's too late.
I don't know what this is. I do, but we'll pretend. Like, this is interesting. Damp cellar. So I'm going to go down to the damp cellar. This is sort of fun. I wonder what's in the damp cellar. Oh, there's a chest. Oh, cool little event, right? That's fun. I'm surrounded. Oh, no.
I grow in power.
Ooh, level 3. So, you know, XP's nice. Ooh, I got a new thing. A new skill unlocked. So I still haven't got to choose anything. I don't remember if you get to choose your skills in Diablo anymore. We'll find out. I think you only get to slot them. You unlock skills and you choose which ones are slotted. I get why they did that. It's a choice. It's a choice. You know, we could talk about that too. Obtained using the blacksmith to salvage rare weapons and armor. Cool, I found something. It told me what it... Rare crafting material. Okay, it's a rare crafting material. Crafting! We'll really get into crafting later. I'm not going to get into that now because that's a whole nother thing. Crafting is a lie. It basically, we'll get to that later. Okay, so, so this is now my first choice, right? Can I drag this to... No, I can't. So, corpse spiders. What do these do? I don't know. Okay. Different feel. Little campy. Let's see. So I don't believe I can't. No, you can't just say I want to put that on too. I couldn't remember. It's been a while, like I said. So we'll try it out. We'll try corpse. I don't like corpse spiders, so this might be my first choice to ignore these. So this is one thing about the new system that it's a disadvantage of, you know, it's advantage and disadvantages. The advantage of the new system, right, this system where they just unlock things, is that, you know, I never can build my character in a way that screws me. I unlock something new. I have a new technology, right? You can sort of see like almost like an RTS feel to that. I have a new technology that I am able to utilize. Doesn't mean I want to use it, but I can. And that's sort of like, for me, that's the sad thing, is sometimes when I level up, I got a reward, because leveling up you get a reward, and I don't care about it. Like, I don't particularly like corpse spiders personally. They're just not my thing. And I didn't get to put any points. So my stuff went up passively, but I didn't get to choose. I got no choice. There's no player choice in leveling. I didn't get to choose. You know, I get to choose whether or not I wanted to equip corpse spiders, but if I don't, that's just, you know, that's one of the disadvantages, I think, of the new system. It's a little sad, right? In that way, is that when I level up, I may not get anything I care about, right? So that these things attack, you know, they're sort of cool. They're like damagey over timey. They make a lot of sense if you're slowing guys. You know, I'm sure they're very cool. They might be more powerful right now too. It might be one way they try to get you to try everything. Let's find out.
Save yourself.
So, alright. So there's a little event I triggered that when I talked to that guy, a bunch of guys spawned up. That was cool. So let's look at these. When I hover, does it tell me what they do? No. How do I find out? 3.75. Throw a jar, crush attack enemies. Do they get to tell you? They don't tell you there, so that's interesting. There's no easy way for me to figure out how much damage that does that I know about. I just don't know. There probably is, but meh, I don't care. So, let's see. Are these more or less effective? Well, they're slower, but I keep shooting and then things die really fast. I think I'm not a big fan. I don't like corpse spiders. Let's go back to this and see the difference. They might even be faster at killing things, but they don't feel good to me. And you know I'm more of a feel gamer. You have to enable tooltips. Yeah! Thanks, bro. Thank you. I could do that, actually. Let's do that. Options. Tooltips. Da, 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 da. Tutorials. Zoom and inventory. Equip. So advanced tooltips. Yay! Advanced. Cool. So, look at that. Okay. So, 185% of weapon damage. So, weapon damage, 185%. That's an interesting thing they did. So, percentage. Like, anyone, you know, when you think about it, if that's just at 100 damage, you know, then I would need to level it up. Or, like, if it's 10 damage, or 3 damage, or 5 damage, it would be, you know, it wouldn't be tied to my level as much. Maybe they could level it up with your level. Like, it does more damage as you level. But by making it a percentage of weapon damage, it just keeps it clean. Right? Like, as you level your weapon, all your skills do more damage, right? That makes it, it just makes it simple. 576 of weapon damage. So, these do more damage per shot. Yes, they do. But, you know, they take a while. You know, these do 185 plus 40. You know, I still like the feel of this. Personally, I just like the feel. But, you know, again, it goes back to, like, that leveling thing of, like, oh, when I leveled, I didn't really get an interesting choice that mattered to me. I like this. I'm going to keep using it. So I didn't really get anything. So that's one of the disadvantages of their system to think about. So let me keep going down the road here. So I've done the bonus. That's cool. And now I'm just, you know, we're going to go find the queen and kill her. That was cool. So that was like an entrance. You see how he came out of the ground there. That's like a little animation they trigger. You know, there's different entrance animations. Another cool little trigger when you walked in, the crows fly over.
TRISTRAM.
Really just a chest, right, with a different animation and feel. Barrels, you know, in this world have stuff in them. So, Wretched Queen. So, again, like, when I talked about this being an action RPG and being DPS based, I can dodge a little bit, but I'm gonna get hit. You know, it's you can use your skills and stuff, but that it goes back to, you know, damage and health. All balance is based around that damage and health. So yay! I got to the end of this, and this is another interesting choice Blizzard made here with the level design. I got here. It's sort of a dead end, I'm guessing. I'm guessing there's a gate over there I need to go through, but it's not open yet. Yes. I'm going to go into this corner, and I can search a little bit. But in the end, I came to a dead end. These guys are now taking 3 hits to kill. It's the note as we get into, if I don't wait for the poison at least. Yeah, 3 hits. So that's going to note as we update weapons. We'll see if it actually makes a difference and when it makes a difference. When will it take 2 hits? Because that's all that matters. If I upgrade a weapon and it's still taking 3 hits, doesn't matter. Don't care. So the reason I think Blizzard did this in the level design, right, and I really like this, is, you know, there's a gate here. I can't go through it. I can't go on to the next level. They're forcing me to, you know, learn what this waypoint thing is. Now, I could probably just walk back to town, though this objective would never get hit. I don't know what would happen. I might have to go through the rune to trigger that point of the objective. I might have to go through from town to here and then back. I'm not sure. But what they're trying to do is create sort of a skill gate. I call it like a binary skill gate. It's not really binary in this point because I bet you there's other ways around it. But a binary skill gate is when you say, hey, until the player knows this thing, we will not let them progress. And it's if you have a thing in your game where you're like, I really need them to know how to block, or I really need them to know how to attack. You know, you add in these progression stops where, like, the player has to perform that action in order to earn the right to continue. There's also, like, that's binary skill gate. You must do this to do this. There's also, like, if you think about other games, you know, Mario, you run up to the first chasm, hole in the ground, you fall through, you die, right? That's binary skill gate. Then there's also games like Dark Souls, right? Dark Souls, it's like, well, you know, there's not necessarily a binary skill gate. Like, if you don't block, you die. But there definitely is a, like, if you don't block a certain percentage of the time or dodge a certain percentage of the time, you die, right? So that's like a little more like gradual organic skill gate. The risk, the more you go down that path of the gradual organic skill gates, the more you risk the player just not really learning the mechanic. So it's just it's a balance, right? It's just something to think about. So I'm going to go back to town. Yay! There's great little menu. I didn't even look at it. The map is just, yep, that made sense. I already knew what to click on. Didn't even have to think about it.
Thank you for your help. But could you talk some sense into Leah? She won't give up on the idea of rescuing her uncle.
Nor should she. I will help her find him. The way opens before you.
Level 4! Quest complete. Reptilian shoes. Cool. Got new boots. So, okay. So these don't seem to be as good as I found, so I won't use them. Plus 2 life after each kill. Yay. I'll put that on. And I got a bow if I want to switch to a bow. But, new skill slot available. So, cool. I didn't get to choose what skill I had still, but I do get to slot this. They already slotted it for me. That's great. You know, I can right click and switch it if I had more options. Gonna hit one. Zombie dogs! I love zombie dogs. That's awesome. So, cool. Let's go talk to Leah. I didn't actually look at my map, so I don't actually know if she's in here. No, she's not in Leah's room, so I didn't look at my map. That was my fault. Interesting, when I went into this area, they hid the objective log. When I go back out here, does it come back? No. Okay, cool. Interesting. That's weird. They don't have a talk to Leah. Surprised about that, you know? That seems
Come,
like a bug. But
We'll
it
need
is
to
what it
open
is.
the cathedral first. The guards locked it up before they were ambushed. Rumford told me they fought their way back to ADRIA'S hut. The key must still be there.
Cool. Now I got objectives back again. Alright. So now use a new TRISTRAM waypoint. This is no. So if I had skipped that waypoint and walked all the way back to town, which is something I could have done, you know, what they just did is say, hey, now you got to go to New Tristram. I'm 99.9% sure there's not going to be a way to get there without using this. There's your binary skill, right? If you don't use this, you'll never be able to progress. So that was them going, oh, somebody might have missed the first one. And I actually have to click on, oh no, never mind. Haha. Okay, so I still could walk all the way back probably.
Here, let me open the gate.
She opens the gate. Cool.
Adria was my mother, but I don't know much about her.
They gave you 2 shots though, so if you missed it the first time, you get it the second time. So there's a little AI thing I just noticed. Notice the dogs didn't do anything. Like when I walked up to those monsters, the dogs stayed back. That's a great little choice, right? They're like, if the player's not engaging, or if the player hasn't engaged, the dogs don't engage. Let's see if that holds true. You know, it's just a little AI thing, but I can imagine why they did that, right? Like, if the dogs just ran up and were always fighting, you're like, oh my god, I so just don't want to fight these guys right now. Now my dogs are dead again, I have to resummon them. You know, by making you engage first, they at least limit, you know, the dogs to dying to either monsters like range monsters attacking them, or because you chose to get into combat. Fade away instead of going... Oh, the dogs fade away? I'm sorry, what fades away? Part of your text is cut off from this screen. Let me move it over. Fade away instead of just going back into the ground. Oh, yeah, that is lame. That is lame. I didn't even notice that. Cool. So that was an interesting effect. I missed what happened there, but the ice guys exploded. Oh, yeah. Oh, that is lame. That is what I call cheap effects. Yeah, that's lame. Huh. They probably... I wonder how they did these hands. They might be part... Like, it's hard to tell because of the perspective. They fade in, too. So here's why I bet you they did that, and I could be wrong. I used to be an effects artist. Woo! I started out long ago. So I bet you that those hands are not meshes. I bet you they're not animated. They might be like a 2D sprite, where they took a 2D sprite and put it on like a particle or something, and then they're just showing you particles with an animated 2D sprite on it. And because of that, they'd have to have more texture space to actually pull the hand back into the ground and push it out. That would be my guess to keep things performant. I'm guessing they're not actual meshes. I agree with you, it would be much cooler if they came up and out of the ground. I'm guessing that's why they did it. Hard to know without actually seeing the effect, but I'm guessing that was what they were thinking. So in any case, let's talk to Leah.
Here's the key, and my mother's journal. What I've seen of it is disturbing. I want to know more about her, but that can wait. We need to save Uncle Deckard first.
I will find Deckard Cain.
Cool.
Stay here and study your mother's
I sort of like they made this choice of the witch doctor being the witch doctor and all that. I sort of like it because if I play through again, I get to see how different people interact with her.
I consoled him
So
as best
adds a little bit of replay.
Regardless, wherever he's headed, hell will surely follow in
All right,
his
so
wake.
here's a new icon.
Shadows close in on Tristram
So
once again.
this icon apparently
But like
means
Aiden,
that I can pull up a little
I'll be
menu like
gone
this. She has
before they
multiple
fall.
things for me to do or talk to about, right? That's nice. Lets me know that, hey, anyone with that icon has additional dialogue options.
You mean how did
It's cool. So, let's get out of here. Interesting, so when I walked away from her, she stopped talking to me. That was a choice, right? I think I understand, like, if I walk away, I might just not want her to interfere with other dialogue events. So that's why they did that. They could have also let her keep talking until I had another dialogue event. There would have been another way to handle it. You know, it depends what you want. Then you get that whole, like, I could keep playing and hear dialogue. I don't have to wait. But, you know, I'm not sure exactly why they made the choice they did, but there's a choice. There's advantages and disadvantages to each. You know, just something to think about. I love that my dogs don't die a lot. I really like that. Because, God, I hate it when, like, you have to resummon. I'm sure later in the game they're just going to die, like, instantly. I'm curious, and I'm killing things pretty fast. Let's find out. Do they have life bars, even? Interesting. I wonder if they even die. Be interesting if they didn't. I hate resummoning things, so... Interesting. We'll find out. So,
This is Tristram,
the cathedral.
Fallen star lies within.
So, this, I believe... Again, the dogs did not attack. I love that. Alright, going into the cathedral, level 1. I dropped down, cool little custom animation there. That is really... Dogs' pets are super invincible. I love that! Because, you know what? Nothing is worse than having to resummon your monsters 1,000 times a fight. You know, it's just... Ugh. It's just annoying. It becomes annoying. Like, I remember Necromancer in Diablo 2. I think I spent 50% of my time resummoning all my pets. And, you know, Necromancers really were bad unless they had a lot of pets going at a time. So, it's really nice that you don't have to do that. I'm curious to see how the Necromancer will be in Diablo 3. What, like, learnings from Diablo 2 they took. If they do the same kind of thing where the guys you summon are pretty invincible. It's going to be exciting to see. So... I was hoping that before we get to this first, like, memorable moment, as I call it, with Deckard Cain. So, you know, one thing that they did that in Diablo 3. Oh, interesting. D. Health bars are enabled. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. That's very cool. Oh, I love that effect. As you kill the guy, there's a little bit of, you know, they had a little bit of reaction gameplay there. You had to run away when he starts blowing up. That, in like an action RPG, is something that, you know, you wouldn't see in a normal RPG that's purely DPS based. You know, it actually lets me play better and avoid some damage. You know, depending on, when you're balancing an AI like that, when you're balancing a monster like that, the more damage the reactions do compared to, like, their auto attack. Think of the auto attack as a dot. Especially if you're a melee combat guy, you're always going to take that damage when you're staying in melee combat. It's just dot, 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 dot. The more damage you move to the reaction abilities, the more skill the game's gonna have, right? Like you can have a guy like wind up and one-shot you, and that, you know, all of a sudden the skill of like avoiding that attack is super, super important. Like a badly designed game, I've definitely played some MMOs to try to add the action RPG elements, and they do this thing where like it doesn't actually matter. Like the guy winds up to kill you, and you're like, I'm just gonna stand there and let him punch me in the face, and it does not matter. Like it maybe does a little more damage, but you can beat him either way. It doesn't actually matter that you dodged or didn't, you know. So that's the thing when you're balancing a game, you got to think about if you're gonna have reaction ability, it should be important. And especially early game, it's good to teach the player that, hey, dodging this is really good. It should really take a chunk of their life away, because you want to teach them dodging matters. Dodging matters. And, you know, you don't want a player to just stand there and get hit. Again, though, that's going to reduce your accessibility. You know, it's going to make it less... Last thing to talk about before I log off for today. And then I'll also tell you guys what I'll do next time. I'm going to keep going through the same game. This thing. This is a funny thing where, like, I call this a marketing feature. And what I mean is it looked really good for marketing, but it doesn't really do much in the game, right? Like, I don't know how many times you guys have used, like, dropping the chandelier on the monster's head, but it's pretty rare, right? So, like, but God, it looked good in the marketing. Like, when you took down the wall, the barbarian took down the wall in that first trailer, and you saw it fall on the monsters, you're like, whoa, that's awesome. So, you know, it's not something that's really used very heavily in the game, but it was cheap for them to do, and it looked really good in trailers. So, you know, and that's something that could be expanded. I mean, you can make that a huge feature in the game where you, like, you know, it's really hard to kill monsters unless you lead them in these traps. I mean, you could go down that path, but, you know, they chose to make it pretty light. So, you know, I started touching on, like, things like, you know, items and balance, and just talking about like how everything really equates down to damage and health, and that armor is health and all that stuff. But what I haven't talked about is like when you get into some of the technical details, reaction. Yeah, so because and does start to mix. Yeah. So I think reaction abilities are great, right? Like. I think it can get pretty cluttered. Like Diablo 3, I noticed like there's definitely like early Diablo 3, and I haven't played for a while, but there's like Vortex, Molten, like there's certain combinations where you can't really react very well because the tells weren't very strong, and it's just like, oh my god, right? Like, but think about the opposite side. If there isn't reaction abilities at all, right? If there's no reaction abilities at all, you get into this situation where you're just basically playing a DPS game. You just stand there and shoot them, and you know you can't even move out of the way really, and you're just like, it's like, are my numbers higher than theirs? So I think reaction abilities, like, you know, add a little bit of player skill. It really depends how much player skill you want, and then you get into making sure reaction abilities work well together. You know, they shouldn't feel messy or sloppy. You know, if the player can't tell what's going on, you know, that problem is that really you have you've created a layered reaction abilities that don't have good tells, that don't work well together. So I think they're healthy for a game. I think they're great in this game. I love them. They add a lot of fun to me. For me, it really depends what you want. If you're going super casual Facebooky, then you know you might just want the numbers to go up. But you know, it depends what you want. So in any case, next time I'm gonna get more into items, right? A lot more into items and a lot into like, why do scrolls of identity exist? And like people might think like, oh, because you know there's a reason for them actually, and it's not just player emotion, it's actually technical. Like there's technical server limitations and things that the scrolls of identity help with. I don't know that that's exactly why they put them in Diablo, because it didn't help build it, but it's definitely why I put it in other games. So it's something I'll talk about. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Really fun playing Diablo and showing you guys some stuff. Oh, and one last thing. It's actually very important that an environment can be used to kill really strong mobs, even if you're really weak. That's actually awesome. I'm happy they did that. Earlier when I played, it wasn't as much of a focus. I'm really glad they've made that more of a focus, because it's fun, right? And fun is what we're all here to do. So, thanks, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.